welcome back. So this video is going to be a review of The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. So this review is going to be broken up into two reviews. The first half of this video is going to be a spoiler-free review, then the second half, and I'll put it on the screen when it's time, is going to be a spoiler review. So without further ado, let's get into it. This book I actually gave 5 stars. It was so good, and it blew my expectations out of the water. I listened to it on Audible, and quick side note, I don't know what happened there, if it was they changed up the chapters in the printed book, or Audible just messed up, but my chapters were wrong, if that made sense. It would go to part 3 and say chapter 1, but on my screen or my phone it would say chapter 25, which really confused me. I'm like, are they not reading what is supposed to be being read, or is it going out of order somehow or something like that? I just didn't know. It was in the correct order, I believe. So I don't know what happened there, and I don't even know why I'm telling you this. I just thought that you guys should know that happened. Maybe if you do decide to listen to it on Audible, you shouldn't be thrown back or anything like that if that does happen, because it happened to me. But it's normal, it does go in order, so yeah. So without spoiling anything, this book, I love this book. It's about this girl named Alicia. A few years ago, she shot her husband in the face 4 or 5 times and killed him. And then after that moment, she didn't speak a word since, and she was sent off to a mental ward. There, she's not treated the best. There's this one doctor in particular who thinks, medicating the patients is better than, letting them, be able to think clearly. So that kind of, messed her up. But the new psychiatrist that's coming in, his name is Theo, and he's really interested in the story. He had seen it in the newspaper. He heard that she wasn't talking. He thought, hey, maybe I can help and get her talking. So he gets a job at the place where she is, and they start having therapy sessions, and the story unfolds through that. And there's also some parts that are from Alicia's diary. That's if you do listen to it on Audible, it's a different voice actor. There are 2 voice actors. The first one is Alicia, only speaks in the diaries, and the second one is Theo. Both of them did an incredible job. I loved both their voices. They did good. Really drew me into the story, so nice job. So, but yeah, anyway, you'll get a little insight into what Alicia, thought, before she went to, this hospital or whatnot and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I really enjoyed both parts and both sides to the story. And to the story, I will say the one tiny little thing that someone pointed out, and now that I've been able to sit on it, they are right. I'm not going to change my rating on this book or anything. It's still 5 stars for me. But Theo does blatantly break protocol several times. He goes behind his superior's back, and I've been told, and I'm not a licensed therapist, obviously, I couldn't voice my opinion on anything that he was really doing. I'm like, oh, is that protocol? Is that not protocol? But someone, I believe they were actually a therapist, and they wrote a review on it, and he blatantly disregarded this. You're not supposed to do this. He broke this. He did this. So yeah, that's the one thing that I've kind of had to sit on and think about. But if you went into it like I did, not really knowing that, it's not too big of a deal. But I can see how someone who does that job or knows about that profession, that would become a big deal. But for me it wasn't. So some people it is, some people it's not. But yeah, the main character in this book, which actually surprised me, was Theo. He starts out the book and he ends the book. I was just oh, okay, I thought this was going to be Alicia's story, and technically it is. I just thought we were going to see a bit more of, her doing something, or her in a room or thinking or something like that. It was strictly through Theo's eyes. Well, I wasn't disappointed. It just surprised me at first, but I actually kind of liked it, seeing everything from a therapist perspective. And also Theo, he needs a therapist too from his past, and I kind of like that. character development there, that, you know, he had a messed up past too. He's still going through crap, you know. He still has to talk to his therapist about stuff that happened in his past. So I like that he wasn't one of these, like, you know, smart therapists that are like, I understand what you're going through. I've never gone through it, but I understand what you're going through. Like, no, he used his experience and he's like, listen, Alicia, like, I 100% have been where you are. I know what you're going through. Like, believe me, I've been there, done that. So I kind of like that. That was actually a really cool touch, that, you know, this character was almost just as damaged as Alicia, if not a bit more. So they could, you know, kind of relate to each other in therapy sessions, even if she didn't talk, based off of that. And you can tell it through, like, the facial expressions that he notices and stuff like that, that, you know, she, like, kind of understands to an extent where that he does understand what she's going through. Both the characters' home lives, like Alicia, of course, before she went to the hospital, and Theo, you know, in Theo's life, both their home lives are kind of, like, sucky. Like, I'm not gonna go into detail or anything like that, because it possibly will lead into a spoiler, so I'm not gonna say anything. But, like, it was just very interesting to see, like, the dynamics of these two. Like, you can tell that they both, like, in both couples, both people in the couples, they love one another a lot. They just have issues, you know? And it's like it's interesting. I couldn't lie. I like that aspect of the book, and usually I don't like marital problems. Usually I'm like, I don't care, really, essentially, what you're going through. You know, leave me alone, get back to, like, the main points and stuff. But here I actually found myself, like, really liking these points. So nice job. I think that's about all I can say without going to spoilers. So now we're going to be entering into the spoiler part of the video. So if you still want to read this book, which I highly recommend, and you don't want it to be spoiled, then I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for stopping by. If you're okay with it being spoiled, or if you already read this book, welcome. So the twist, the main twist, was that, you know, the events, the marital events that were happening between, you know, Theo and his wife and Alicia and her husband, they're actually happening at the same time. But throughout the book, it makes it seem like Theo's problems with his wife are happening in the current situation. So like it plays with your mind like that. Like, it never says, and it might say, like, something on the print, but I doubt it, because, you know, the people on Audible, they read everything, and it didn't allude to anything. But, like, that was really cool to, like, think that you're in the present, but it's like, no, this is actually in the past, and these stories actually really connect. One of the twists was that Theo's wife was cheating on him with Alicia's husband. So that was how they were connected throughout this entire thing. And then I thought that was really cool. I was like, oh my goodness, that's her. Like, when I realized that, I think I was in, like, the Starbucks line or something, like, getting coffee. I was like, oh, no, like, I was shocked, and I was like, wow, this is a good book. Anyway, that's one of the twists in the story. Another twist in the story was that Theo was actually the one that broke in, you know, and broke into Alicia's house before she went off to jail. He didn't shoot and kill the husband, but he broke into the house, you know, held her at gunpoint. It was like, hey, listen, I know what you're going through. You know, I'm not your enemy. Here's what your husband has been doing. And then he tied them both up. And then it was this huge, like, tense moment where he was like, if you love Alicia, you know, if you can choose to save yourself or herself. If you love her and you would rather die, say I love you to her. And, you know, he doesn't say anything. And so the husband doesn't say anything. So Theo points the gun up at the ceiling and he shoots. So that was also another thing that the cops couldn't quite figure out, is why is there a bullet wound in the ceiling when the other four were, like, at, you know, close proximity to the guy's face. Like, why that one? And I thought that was really cool too. So he unties Alicia, he leaves her the gun, and he leaves. So he doesn't actually kill anyone at that moment. he says, I never thought Alicia would kill him. But she was so mad, and she had some past trauma, I believe, involving with her father. It's been a minute since I've read this, but I believe involving with her father, that really just pushed her over the edge, and she ended up shooting her husband 4 or 5 times in the face, and then never talking again. And so I thought that was a really cool connection. And then that's why Theo wanted to get the job at the hospital, was to see how she was doing, get to know her, see what she knew about him. And she eventually figures this out because he says a phrase or something that he had said while he was holding her at gunpoint. And she figured out who he was. She didn't say anything. Of course she didn't say anything. But, they both essentially knew, hey, I know that you know that I know that you know. And that was really cool, too. It added, a sense of, tenseness to the entire situation when it was finally revealed. He kind of thought back to the scene. He was like, oh, that's why I did that. I could tell immediately that she knew, blah, blah, blah. And so that was really neat. And then the other spoiler in here was, he killed Alicia. So he OD'd her on a drug. I forget what it was, but it sent her into a coma. So the doctor's like, yeah, she probably won't wake up again. So he essentially killed her. He made her brain dead. Her brain was dead. She was essentially a vegetable at that point. And, he did that because he didn't want a secret to become out, because in one of the sessions, she actually began to talk. And he was like, oh, no, if she's actually talking and she knows who I am, she could tell other people. I could go to jail. I don't want that. So, he puts her into a coma, and then he goes through, all of her stuff, making sure that there's no incriminating evidence or anything like that. However, the journal that I mentioned earlier, he misses the journal, and he completely, because she hid it, because she knew that he was coming to kill her, that she let it happen. She literally didn't fight back or anything. She just let her, poke her with a needle. But, she hid the journal, and he forgot about it, and he couldn't find it. And then, the police show up at his house, or a detective does later, and they sit down and they have coffee, and then it ends on this note of I believe this is the scene of how it ends. The detective essentially telling him, hey, I know that you killed Alicia. We found the journal. I know that you broke it. And I don't think the detective ever mentions that. It's implied, and Theo knows that he knows. So it ends with Theo just just looking out a window, looking at rain. And that was it. My mind was blown by that. I was like, oh my goodness, all these twists, this is amazing. I love this book so much. It's honestly one of my favorite books right now. I'm honestly considering going out and buying the physical copy and reading that. The only problem is the cover isn't particularly my favorite, so I might have to find another one. I'm not sure. But anyway, yeah, I really liked that book. The narration was amazing. The story was great. Character development was great. All of it was super well done. Now, there are people who say that they could see this plot twist coming from a mile away, or that they didn't like the plot twist. I can kind of understand where you're coming from in terms of not liking the plot twist or seeing that was obvious. But for me, it wasn't obvious. Again, this just could be because I'm stupid, but I like the plot twist. But I like the plot twist, and it really threw me for a loop. It really got me invested. So yeah, I do understand where the other people are coming from if they don't like it. Some people really didn't like the ending, and that ruined the entire book for them. That was kind of the case with Where the Crawdads Sing. People didn't like the ending, and that ruined the book for them. But for me, I love both of those endings. I was like, this is great. So, I probably just suck at guessing and determining who's a bad guy in a book. I have no idea. I don't like to think that I'm that incompetent, but I might be. But I'm kind of okay with that, because that makes reading, mysteries and thrillers all the more interesting. So, I'm willing to, not know for that sake, because I enjoy it, so it's fine. But yeah, all in all, I really love this book. It's probably going to be one of my top favorites of the entire year. I was really blown away by it, by everything about it. I could hardly put my phone down. I just wanted to listen to it consistently. So that was a really good sign. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this book if you haven't read it already. And if you haven't read it already, because it's super, super good. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to follow me on all my socials. All those links are down in the description below. It would really mean a lot to me if you would do that. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye!